Hello there. My name is Lisa Shanker, and I work for Utah State University Extension in Salt Lake County. Thanks for joining me. Many of us have heard the term codependence, but we may not know exactly what it looks like or how to identify these tendencies in ourselves or in our relationship. This video will provide a brief overview of what to look out for, as well as some tips on what to do if you are concerned that it is affecting you and the well being of your relationship. First, it's important to understand that codependence is not a formal diagnosis, and there aren't any standardized criteria or symptom checklists to help you determine if you have it. One way to think about codependence is as a pattern of certain tendencies someone has developed that can lead to an unhealthy relationship dynamic with their partner. It is also common for this pattern to stay with us until we develop an awareness of it and make an effort to change it. Let's look at some differences between a healthy relationship dynamic and an unhealthy dynamic. Within a healthy dynamic, both partners should feel free and unafraid to express their needs, ask for support, continue to uphold their own values, beliefs, and interests, and be able to let each other know when something concerns them or makes them feel uncomfortable. On the other hand, when someone is experiencing codependent tendencies, they may be scared or anxious to say what they really think. They may be afraid to make their own decisions, and they may look to their partner for approval, validation, or to find a sense of identity. Another aspect of this unhealthy dynamic is having a constant fear of being abandoned by one's partner. This fear often leads to putting their own wants and needs on the back burner, and they avoid upsetting their partner or starting a conflict at almost any cost to themselves. This people-pleasing pattern tends to repeat itself over time, and if left to continue, it can lead to feelings of overwhelm, resentment, exhaustion, and anger in the person who is always making compromises. This person isn't likely to do anything about it, though, because of their underlying fear that their partner will leave them if they are too demanding. Next, we're going to see how this pattern plays out for one couple who are dealing with the scenario that many couples deal with every year: where to spend the holidays. Jesse and Alex always spend the holidays with Alex's family because even though Jesse's mom invites them every year, Jesse turns her down. This is because the first time she brought it up to Alex, he immediately made it very clear that he would never be willing to disappoint his parents by not going to see them. So, every year she dreads having to tell her mom that they will once again be spending the time with his family who live across the country. Jessie really wants to be with her family, but she has decided that it's more important to save Alex from having to disappoint his family, and she has convinced herself that her family is more understanding than his. This helps her feel justified in how she handles the situation every year. Jessie ends up feeling guilty when she upsets him because of something she wants or needs. It usually leads to a fight, and he almost always loses his temper and yells at her, and this just makes her scared and anxious. Alex assumes that Jessie is fine with going to see his family every year, and Jessie now is to the point where she no longer asks for what she wants just to avoid the drama and the strain on their relationship. An unhealthy dynamic has been created over time between Jessie and Alex, and they haven't been able to have an open and honest conversation about where their family should go to spend the holidays in years. Now we're going to look at the signs of Jessie's codependent tendencies. The first one is having a strong desire to avoid creating conflict. Jessie goes to great lengths to avoid upsetting Alex, which means that even when her views or feelings differ from his, she has learned to keep them to herself. She doesn't want to rock the boat. We may find ourselves consistently prioritizing our partner's needs over our own. For example, Jessie is willing to have that hard conversation with her mom each year so that Alex doesn't have to do the same with his parents. We may feel guilty for asking what we want or need. Jessie feels guilty every time she thinks about having to spend the holidays with her family. She doesn't want to ask Alex to disappoint his parents because she worries too much about his feelings and his needs. We may find ourselves having constant anxiety about keeping our partner happy. Jessie finds herself walking on eggshells most of the time when it comes to keeping Alex happy. Not just around the holidays, but the rest of the year too. And last but not least, we have the fear around being abandoned by our partner. Jessie feels like if she pressed him too hard, Alex would say, "Fine, if it's so important to you, you can go visit your family, but you're going to have to go by yourself." She wants to avoid this response at all costs. In addition to what we've just discussed, here are some additional questions to consider that will help you identify some of your codependency tendencies. Some of these include: do I rely on my partner to make me feel good about myself? Do I struggle to express my boundaries to my partner? Do I have my own hobbies? Or do I only do things my partner likes? And am I afraid that my partner will reject or abandon me if I don't do what they want? If you have answered yes to some of these questions, don't feel bad or worry too much. Most of us have experienced some of these issues at some point. The big question to ask yourself is, to what extent are these tendencies impacting me, my partner, and our relationship? Here are some next steps to get you started. First, take some time to write down the qualities, interactional patterns, and behaviors that you think define a healthy and supportive relationship. Then, list some of the unhealthy dynamics or patterns that may have developed out of fear or some other concern you may have. Finally, start to ask yourself what you can do to turn those unhealthy dynamics into healthier ones that serve yourself and your relationship in a positive way. In conclusion, keep in mind that patterns like this take time to change, so be patient with yourself as you take an honest look at your own codependence tendencies. After you've learned to identify where those unhealthy dynamics are in your relationship, you can begin to work with your partner to make changes together. Thanks for joining me, and take care out there.